Hello, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. Thank you for joining us here on CBS News. We have full team coverage of Hurricane Idalia, its storm track, and its aftermath. It is currently making its way across Florida, unleashing life-threatening storm surge, sparking tornado watches, and bringing heavy rainfall to the region. Idalia made landfall on the state's west coast this morning as a Category 3 hurricane. Forecasters say it could remain a hurricane as it crosses into Georgia. Earlier, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis warned residents to take the storm seriously.
The National Hurricane Center expects storm surge to reach up to 16 feet in some areas of the Big Bend region. That level of storm surge is life-threatening. Do not go outside in the midst of this storm. If it's calm where you are, it may be because you are in the eye of the storm, and those conditions will change very, very quickly. So wherever you are, hunker down and don't take anything for granted here. This is a very, very powerful storm.
We have reporters spread throughout the region, and we'll bring you updates here on CBS News throughout the midday. We're going to begin, though, with CBS News correspondent David Begnaud in Crystal River, Florida. David, we can already see some of the conditions where you are. Tell us more about what you can see there in Crystal River.
Well, I'm listening to and watching a helicopter that I presume is a law enforcement helicopter circle this area, looking at the water. Where we are here in Crystal River, it didn't rise until really 2 hours ago in earnest. I mean, behind me, this water was... When I started television this morning with the first live shot at 7 a.m., it was on the other side of that tree line. And it's now come up, what they're telling me is 4 to 5 feet. And we hope it's holding, because if it comes up another 4 to 5 feet, it's going to be here in our hotel rooms. It's already started to flood some of the homes around me. In this area where we are of Crystal River, it is under mandatory evacuation. But in the state of Florida and along the Gulf Coast, and I say this with deep affection for this area, sometimes people refuse to leave, even when they're told to get out, oftentimes, right? Those of us who grew up around hurricanes, Lana, you're kind of like, yeah, it'll be fine. I'll make it. And so I think of that as we started to see some of the incredible video out of Cedar Key and out of Perry. Perry is where the eye made landfall, and the damage there is quite substantial. The good news about that area, if there is any good news, let me not even call it good news, but necessary context. That Big Bend area where the eye made landfall is a minimally populated area. There's more wildlife than people. It's known for its salt marshes. So it wasn't a heavily populated area. We heard that 80% of the electricity in the Perry area was out, but there was roughly 10,000 people to account for the 70% of customers. So I heard you earlier say that the storm was impacting Florida, and you're dead on. But what's been fascinating, Lana, is how fast this storm is moving. Initially, it slowed down in the Gulf of Mexico and went from a Category 1 to a Category 4 in less than 24 hours. Then it started to pick up speed, and I was looking at the radar. I think it's going to be out of the state of Florida in the next 2 hours.
That's always good news, actually, when a hurricane moves through quickly rather than just staying in one place and dumping all that rainfall. You mentioned, though, about people's reluctance sometimes to get out, and in part, Crystal River, where you are, was expected to be a direct hit for Hurricane Ian last fall. The city was spared. We know that sometimes that affects the way that residents then respond to mandatory evacuation warnings. Did people get out? And if they haven't, do they have options left?
The option is hunker down. That's about it. So we were hearing in mandatory evacuated areas, it appeared that a lot of people were gone. But I'm not sure. We didn't get an amount. A lot of, in the Perry area, for example, where the storm made landfall, they weren't even responding to 911 calls because the lieutenant from the sheriff's department said it's too dangerous for our crews to get out into the field. So I think sometime within the next 6 hours, we will know if there are any life-threatening injuries. But the flooding, I'm telling you, in that Cedar Key area, it is catastrophic. Now, here's what's important to know about Cedar Key. Cedar Key is 3 miles off the coast of Florida. So it essentially is a little key, a little island out there in the Gulf of Mexico. So you would expect that they would have the worst of the storm surge, and man, did they.
All right. David Begnaud, do hope that you and the team there stay safe and that most people have, in fact, gotten out and that we don't see another 5 feet rise there. Appreciate it.